Hello, today we will recap a romantic thriller movie, in which a young couple next door, watches couple sleep together every night. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel for more such amazing recaps. Spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The film begins with a young woman trying on lingerie in a shop. The young lady's name is Pippa, and she returns home extremely happy. Pippa and her boyfriend Thomas have recently moved into a new apartment. The broker informs him that no changes can be made to the apartment, and that they cannot even hang anything from the ceiling, including undergarments. Thomas stays quiet for a while and agrees. They quickly settle in and enjoy living together. Pippa tells Thomas that she wants to postpone having children, so that they can enjoy the rest of their youth. Thomas accepts Pippa's decision to postpone having children. Later that evening, while they are bonding over dinner, they notice flashing lights coming from an apartment building across the street, as their neighbors are busy in a photo shoot. Pippa is hesitant to spy on the couple, but Thomas is eager to do so. The two then observe their neighbors with interest as they begin to kiss, which leads them into the kitchen, where they begin hugging each other. Then she informs him that it is their first night in the new apartment, and that they should respect their neighbors' privacy. Pippa puts on hot lingerie and perfume in the bathroom, hoping they can make love instead of spying on their neighbors. When Pippa comes out of the bathroom, she is disappointed to see Thomas has already fallen asleep. Pippa then lies in bed, with a disappointed expression on her face, as things did not go as planned. Pippa goes to work the next day with her friend and colleague Ari. Pippa tells Ari about what her neighbor did last night, and how she could see them clearly. Ari wonders if they had binoculars to see what was going on. She tells Ari that it was not acceptable for them to secretly spy on the couple. However, Ari believes that simply watching is harmless. Soon after, Pippa's boss gifts her a Japanese bird feeder, as a housewarming gift for her new apartment. Pippa returns home and discovers Thomas's drawing. She actually loves it and greets him. They both appear to resume spying on their neighbors. The man is eating in the kitchen, and the lady is folding clothes while wearing headphones. Pippa jokingly names them Margot and Brent. They notice the man choking. Tom wants to dial 911, but Pippa refuses, claiming that they would discover he was spying on them. Pippa instructs him to go over and help him instead. The lady sees him through the bedroom door and saves him time. Pippa notices the lady leaving for a trip one night. As she examines her husband, who is half naked by the window, Pippa comes across a pair of binoculars in a shop one day, and decides to buy them in order to get a better view. Pippa and Thomas immediately use the binoculars to spy on the couple back at home. Brent photographs a beautiful topless model, and the two quickly become flirtatious, with Brent kissing and caressing the woman. Meanwhile, Pippa is triggered. She then undresses Thomas and rides his horse. However, Pippa is unsatisfied after Thomas' liquid leaks quickly. Pippa is unable to sleep, and she feels bad for Margot, because she is in love with a cheating life partner. Thomas and Pippa meet their friends for lunch one day. Pippa wishes she could hear what her neighbors were saying to each other. Junie then reveals that back in college, Thomas discovered how to secretly listen in on another room, by using a long-range microphone and a laser pointer. Following this, Thomas explains to Pippa that when you make a noise, a large picture window vibrates. Thomas explains that in order for the idea to work, they would have to sneak into their house and place a mirror perfectly behind the window, causing the sound to bounce back to them. Thomas and Pippa plan to break into Brent and Margot's home. They become aware that they are hosting a Halloween party. Later that night, Pippa and Thomas dress up in their costumes and go to a Halloween party, to secretly place a mirror in Brent and Margot's apartment. The first thing they hear is an argument between the lady and the man. She accuses him of cheating, but he denies it. He manipulates her and gets her to apologize to him instead. Pippa is affected by the argument and finds it difficult to concentrate at work. The next day, Pippa is surprised to see Margot in the clinic, and she learns that Margot's real name is Julia, and she is looking for a new pair of eyeglasses. The two end up bonding, and Julia decides to take Pippa to a spa. They exchange phone numbers and agree to meet on a date. Meanwhile, Thomas is working on his project. He grabs the binoculars and decides to watch Brent. He notices yet another girl arrive at his house, and Brent is photographing her. Then he hugs this model as well. Pippa is happy about her date with Julia and tells Thomas all about it. She also tells Thomas that she wants to warn Margot about Brent cheating on her, which enrages Thomas, who tells Pippa that Margot doesn't need her help because it's none of her business. Pippa and Julia go to the spa together. They discuss their lives, and Julia reveals that she was a model but did not complete high school. Pippa learns Julia's husband's name is Sebastian. Julia also hints at some struggles in her marriage. Sebastian's double life as a photographer and womanizer continues. One day while spying on him, Pippa observes Sebastian hugging two women while Margot is away. Sebastian throws the used condom in the trash can in the bathroom. Later that night, Pippa discovers how to connect to Julia and Sebastian's wireless printer. Pippa sends a message to Julia, asking her to check her dustbin for used protection. Julia is hurt and disappointed. Thomas comes in the middle of the night and asks Pippa what's going on. They see Julia reach for a knife in the kitchen. Julia is intent on stabbing Sebastian. Thomas and Pippa disagree about calling the cops. He believes Pippa's actions may have been the cause of the murder. Julia enters the bedroom where Sebastian is sleeping. Furthermore, Julia stands over Sebastian with a knife but stops midway, because she cannot bring herself to stab him. The next day, Pippa apologizes to Thomas and tells him that she will throw away the binoculars, and that she will never see Julia again. Pippa notices Julia has stabbed herself as they embrace. Thomas is taken aback and decides to leave. He tells Pippa that he has to leave, and that he can no longer be with her. According to Pippa, how could she have known Julia would hurt herself? What is she expected to do? Thomas responds angrily that there is nothing she can do, because Julia is dead because of her. Then he grabs his coat and informs Pippa that their relationship is over. Pippa notices Julia's glasses and attempts to call her phone, hoping that the incident she witnessed is not true. Pippa eventually apologizes in the voicemail message. Pippa's days and nights were lonely, as she struggled with self-blame and a failed relationship. Pippa continues to spy on Sebastian, who decides to go out to the bar for a drink. Pippa decides to follow him there, and she's looking at Sebastian intently when he notices her in the mirror. Sebastian appears to recognize her, but Pippa denies him. Sebastian is straightforward, and he asks if she minds if he photographs her. The two leave the bar and make their way to his apartment. Furthermore, Sebastian pours a glass of wine for Pippa and begins photographing her. Then he asks Pippa if she can fully undress herself, which she does without much hassle. Sebastian undresses as well and moves in close for a kiss. She doesn't react and begins to enjoy the moment. Unbeknownst to Pippa, Thomas returns to the apartment. He's carrying a bouquet and is ready to make amends. Thomas takes a sip of a drink he doesn't actually enjoy. He places it inside the birdcage. Thomas suddenly notices two people hugging in Sebastian's apartment. Curious, Thomas takes out the binoculars to get a better look. When he notices Pippa and Sebastian hugging each other, he feels hurt and betrayed. When Pippa returns home the next day, she finds her apartment door slightly open and walks in to discover Thomas has hung himself. Pippa is devastated that she has lost the love of her life, and she spends the majority of her days living in regret. Pippa meets with her friend and expresses her sense of guilt over the deaths of Thomas and Julia. Ari, on the other hand, tells Pippa that she is still a good person. Pippa responds that if she is such a good person, why does she still want to see Sebastian? Pippa then says that if she can just see Sebastian one more time, she might be able to move on. They decide to attend Sebastian's opening night. Pippa is surprised to see Julia still alive when they arrive. Their exhibition is based on Pippa's tragic story. It turns out Pippa and Thomas moved into the apartment owned by Sebastian and Julia. They gradually reveal a pictorial story of Pippa's first move-in with Thomas. They began to notice their neighbors hugging each other. Sebastian explains to the audience that Thomas and Pippa began to care far more about his and Julia's lives than their own. Sebastian and Julia had been keeping an eye on them since they moved in. Pippa is hurt and betrayed, so she runs away to Sebastian's house. She discovers a hidden room full of photographs and surveillance equipment, revealing that Sebastian and Julia were also watching them the whole time. Pippa is taken aback and destroys all of the equipment. Pippa decides to leave her apartment building. She takes out the birdhouse and empties the remaining chlorophyll juice. However, she notices several birds have died, and she puts two and two together. When Sebastian and Julia return home, they discover a bottle of wine wrapped as a gift on their doorstep. Julia and Sebastian are drinking wine, when they are interrupted by a message to their printer. Pippa sends a message, stating that she knows that Thomas didn't kill himself but was murdered. Julia and Sebastian fall for the bait, and they notice Pippa on the rooftop in the next building. She escapes, leading them into the office building where she works. They quickly overtake Pippa and corner her. However, a terrified Pippa reveals that she knows Julia is the one who poisoned the drink. Pippa notices Julia as she speaks. She becomes disoriented, falls to the ground, and collapses. Sebastian is concerned and wants answers from Pippa. Pippa tells him the wine was from her. She forces him to look at her, and promises that it will be the last thing that he'll ever see. Pippa then places Julia and Sebastian's unconscious bodies under the machine, and she completely burns their pupils. A new couple has now rented the apartment. They notice Julia and Sebastian standing in the window, but they are now permanently blind. Pippa observes them from a distance, she places the broken binoculars down, and she walks away. So this was the story of the film The Voyeurs, released in 2021. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.